Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it may be for you guys. This is the Angry Onion, AO, and I'm about to give you some news and views that just stink on most occasions. I'm not some big time talk show host, but I'm just an angry onion that wants to talk to you about some things that's going on in the world. They'll be short little stories, so it won't take too much of your time, but more than likely they'll stink. And because they'll stink, you probably just look at this video once and say, I'm done with the Angry Onion, but I would hope you would come back because I am angry and got a few things to talk about that just doesn't make sense to me. So, welcome to the Angry Onion. Our goal here is to give you some short, different sides of some of the unique stories from around the world of news, weather, sports, or something that's just crazy. Each story may not last but a couple of minutes. It's just my point of view on what's going on. Most of it will stink, but guess what, guys? I'm an onion and I stink. If you think it stinks, you definitely can talk about it in the comment section by yourself or with others. But I caution you, remember, I'm an onion and I stink. So whatever I do is bound to stink. And as an onion, I don't have logic, so don't try to think of something logical saying, man, this guy stinks, or boy, that's bad. Because one, I'm not a guy, I'm an onion, and I stink. If you get upset, then all I can say is that you're getting upset with an onion. And an onion doesn't have brain or feelings, so just think about that from your logic. I'm an onion. Hey, also each week we'll have an onion breath stinker of the week. You can also nominate someone to be an onion breath stinker of the week. And each week we will have a unique question or topic for you to ponder and discuss. More than likely it will stink also. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with our first news story. And here we go. It said parents must pay $30,000 for getting rid of their son's porn cache. This is in Grand Haven, Michigan. A judge has ordered a Western Michigan couple to pay $30,000 to their son for getting rid of his pornography collection. U.S. District Judge Paul Maloney's decision this week came 8 months after David Working, 43, won a lawsuit against his parents. Okay, Working, Twerking, huh? Just an interesting name there. He said they had no right to throw his collection of films, magazines, and other items. Working had lived at their Grand Haven home for 10 months after a divorce before moving to Muncie, Indiana. So here, Working got a pornographic stash, gets a divorce, moves back home with his parents. Just think about that. The judge followed the values set by an expert at MLive.com reported. Working's parents also must pay $14,500 to their son's attorney. Man, that's interesting. After moving from Indiana, Working learned that his possessions were missing. Frankly, David, I did you a big favor getting rid of all that stuff, his dad said in an email. Okay, it's pretty interesting, it's possible. Could be wrong here, but it's possible that Mr. Working had some material that was just a huge collector's items from a pornographic standpoint. Maybe it was some people in those videos, books, or magazines that are legendary. That's how they got their start in porn, and it's a rare find that he had, kind of like a comic magazine or something. You kind of hold on to that comic magazine for years and years and years, hoping one day it would bring a value. One has to ask though, why didn't you just take it with him? I mean, you're leaving it there for your parents. So let's say if Mr. Working is 43 and will be on the conservative side and said his parents were 24, 25 when they had him. So here they are, 60, 67, 60, 8 years old, and they're cleaning out their place, and they walk up on this stash, and they say, "What in the heck is this mess?" And they threw it away. I mean, I'm pretty sure most parents they walked up on some things and they say, "What's going on here?" and just threw it away. But you would have to ask yourself, what kind of family is this, right? I mean, we're talking about that you're gonna take your parents to court and sue them, and it must have been quite a bit of work put into it that they have to pay uh, the attorney's fees of $14,500, which means it wasn't a small claim court. They couldn't just settle it on their own. But that is just an interesting thing coming out of Grand Haven, Michigan. Uh, you know, you go out and you say, yes, you're cheering, you're pumping your fist. We just won a case of my pornographic material being destroyed, and I got a verdict on it. The interesting thing, I guess, the money is a satisfaction for Mr. David working from the standpoint of he felt he's punishing his parents for doing that, but I don't know. Maybe you go out and try to buy him a whole new collection. Interesting thing, it doesn't say this here, but did his parents put him out? I mean, I guess so. The story says, I don't know. Maybe he's still living with them. It's kind of crazy, but now you can speculate to say maybe that's why his wife divorced him. He's some sick rascal here, pretending to be normal. I'm not saying that you're not normal if you do those things. It just was a unique story of uh, him suing his parents. But let me know what you think about that. We'll move on. We kicked off college football season this week, and well, last week and this week. This was the big week going into Labor Day, and it was some very good football going on, some very good competitive games. I thought that Clemson Georgia was a pretty good game where really neither team scored a touchdown offensively wise. And then it's college football season when you see teams scoring 60, 70, 80 points uh, in their first games, and usually those are schools that scheduled somebody they can easily beat up on. But here's an interesting story that caught my eye. It was a Presbyterian quarterback, Rand Heffley, throws FCS record 10 touchdowns to lead the Blue Hose to a massive win. Now, interesting about that, uh, the team itself threw for 12 touchdowns. So it says Rand Heffley had himself a day on Saturday and set an FCS record in the process. Heffley threw 10 touchdown passes to lead Presbyterian College to an 84-43 win over St. Andrews, an NAIA school, on Saturday in South Carolina, giving new coach Kevin Kelly his first win with the program. When I first seen this, I'm like, man, that's a basketball score. It's one of those lopsided basketball games, but it was a real football game. Mr. Heffley himself has an interesting story as quarterback. He originally transferred from the University of Michigan. He's a big time walk-on quarterback for the University of Michigan. Didn't get his opportunities there, but you have to ask yourself, even just the opportunity to walk on one of the most prominent Division One programs in the country says a lot about yourself. Evidently, the coaches at Michigan, even though he didn't get a scholarship, gave him what would you say the time of day to even walk out there to play that game. But he threw for 10 touchdowns. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. That's still a heck of a feat. But the story really is about Kevin Kelly, uh, the coach who coached at a prominent high school in Little Rock, Arkansas, called Pulaski Academy. And Mr. Kelly, the coach Kelly's motto is the game is not about field position, it's about scoring. So Mr. Kelly himself, his philosophy is that he does not believe in punting the football. All right? He says you're out there to win. You play the game to win. I hear you, Coach Kevin Kelly. But at the end of the day, Kelly, that stinks, right? 84 points, 12 touchdown passes. But if that's your philosophy, hey, who's to knock it? But that's some stinky news there. But we'll move on. All right, it's weather time. And we've had some interesting weather uh, these past year. Uh, Hurricanes, tornadoes, the typical weather. But I want to highlight weather for a particular city. So-so. That's right, S-O-S-O. Located in Jones County, Mississippi. A population of 390 people. It's the 234th largest city in Mississippi, the 14,364th largest city in the United States. Last week, they had a few showers of rain come up. Yeah, it rained in So-So, Mississippi. And you're probably saying, so? And I'm saying so. When we say it together, it's So-So, Mississippi. It rained there. Congratulations, So-So, Mississippi. You're the first weather story that I'm doing on the Angry Onion. It stinks. I know it stinks. And we'll move on. All right, this week's Onion Breath Stinker goes to De'Aaron King, the Miami quarterback. He said, I have no doubt in my mind we will beat Alabama badly in Atlanta. I don't see it being close at all. Hear me now. The U is back, baby. Mr. King, love your enthusiasm, love your confidence. But that just stinks because you guys got beat. If I'm not mistaken, in the first quarter it was 27 to nothing. You stink. But you can stink on the field, that's one thing. But when you open your mouth and you start talking, let's replay that. I have no doubt in my mind we will beat Alabama badly in Atlanta. I don't see it being close at all. Hear me now. The U is back, baby. Well, Mr. Derek King, you're this week's onion breath stinker because that stinks. And for the record, you are correct. The U is back. It's called the University of Alabama. They're coming back to try to repeat from last year's championship season. Mr. King, your counterpart on the other side, Mr. Bryce, threw for a starting quarterback record at Alabama, 300 plus yards and 4 touchdowns. He didn't do any talking. But you, Mr. Derek King, at least for yesterday, you stunk it up. You're this week's onion breath stinker. But good luck to you for the rest of the season. I do believe the U is back in Miami. Just was a little overmatched, and maybe you shouldn't have done as much talking. But good luck, young man. All right. So if you believe you have an onion breath stinker and you'd like to nominate someone, please do that. Just shoot us an email at rodtv65@gmail.com. Let us know why you're nominating that person, and we'll try to get them there. You don't have to send us a picture. You just let us know that they stink, you know. And guess what? Others may say they stink. Others may say, well, this whole process stinks. But guess what? I'm an onion, and I'm supposed to stink. All right? Okay. Let's move on to our question of the week. Ding, 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 ding. I don't know how many of you all are familiar with the Andy Griffin Show. Uh, it dates your age if you remember the Andy Griffin Show. And maybe you've seen reruns. If you've never seen the Andy Griffin Show, I'd like for you to go back and look at it. Andy Griffith had a aunt on there, Aunt B. And one of the things Aunt B was famous for was her carousel pickles. I mean, she had these pickles that no one loved to eat, but she would just make them over and over. And I remember this show, Andy, uh, Opie, they had to sit down, including Barney, and eat all these cases of these nasty pickles that she made. But the interesting thing about that show, we never met who Aunt B was married to or who Andy's uncle would have been. And you've seen a few of the residents there in Mayberry. So the question of the week is, how many of the men in Mayberry do you think tried to date Aunt B? Yeah, Aunt B is not a bad-looking woman, but how many of the men there you think tried to date her? Now, I'll let you discuss that in the comment section, but here's my take. Maybe some men did want to date Aunt B, and maybe it was her previous husband. They decided not to violate anything that related to him. Or maybe, that's my speculation. She may not have been married at all before. Or, you know, her nephew is sitting there as the sheriff. And, maybe I'm saying it wrong. I'm saying it, uh, yeah, I'm saying it right. That's Andy's aunt. Uh, but he's sitting there as the sheriff. Maybe that scared some of the men off from wanting to date uh, Aunt B. You know, same thing can be said about Clara, her friend. Who were the guys in the town that was hollering at Aunt B and Clara? You make you wonder, did Floyd, the barber, ever, take his shot at trying to holler at Aunt B? I know that stinks. That just stinks to heck to even ask that. But here's our question again: how many of the men in Mayberry do you think tried to date Aunt B? Let us know in the comments section what you think on that question. Well, we've come to the end of our first show, The Angry Onion, and we want to thank you for listening to the show. We know it stinks. It will continue to stink. But I'm an onion, guys. I am an onion, and I stink. So don't get upset. I'm just an onion that's trying to, I don't know, stink. But thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. The Angry Onion is a production of Rod TV 65, where reality meets the public, which is a production of BBB2M Media. And we thank them for allowing us to have a venue to be able to get our information across. Once again, thank you for listening to The Angry Onion, and you have a wonderful day.